Yeah, so I promised you all live stream at 1 o'clock, but of course, this news just comes out as I was about to do something. I was making another TikTok, but the Knicks have gotten Jose Alvarado, and this is perfect timing. So again, this is very fluid. So unbelievable. Unbelievable. The Knicks trade Dalen Terry and 2 second-round picks to the Pelicans for Jose Alvarado. I cannot believe it. They did not give up Landry Shamet. They give up 2 second-round picks and Dalen Terry. You got to be kidding me. That is extremely ideal. Wow. I mean, that could not have been a better trade for the Knicks. Leon Rose, man. I mean, Leon Rose came through in this spot. The Knicks get a gritty backup point guard, a guy who listen, you could play. The lineups that the Knicks could play right now are salivating. Listen, Jose Alvarado is an undersized guard. He's 6 feet tall. He's not big, but this is a guy that the Knicks have been trying to get for a very long time. And the fact that they were able to get him for Dalen Terry at 2 second-round picks signals to me that the Pelicans were doing anything they could to get him off their hands. I mean, like what? This could not have gotten any better. And again, my apologies. This is very fluid. I saw the trade. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take my computer out. I'm going to fire it up 30 minutes before. If you're just joining now, you can see the title. I'm sure you saw the news right here. The Knicks have acquired Jose Alvarado for Dalen Terry and 2 second-round picks. Dalen Terry, who they just acquired last night at I want to say 12:30 in the morning. They acquired him. Yabusele played. I don't know if he played in the last game, but he was in the picture. Mitchell Robinson winning defensive player of the game. So he was on the bench. He probably, went showered and then found out the news that he was gone. But the Knicks, yeah, I mean, this is unbelievable. I mean, this is the exact type of player that fits the Knicks identity, or at least what they're trying to do. There is a narrative that I've been trying to push for a very long time, and I think applies to every single sport, every single team that plays in a certain city. And the Knicks have won in the past by playing hard-nosed, physical defense, busted their asses. They've had a physical, bruising identity. And they've lost that. When they traded for Karl-Anthony Towns, they lost that. They don't get it from Jalen Brunson. They definitely don't get it from Mikal Bridges. They kind of get it from OG Anunoby. And here we go. Yeah, they sent cash too. They stay, I'm assuming they stay under the second apron. So this could not have gone better for the Knicks. Yeah, I mean, the Knicks fans are going to love this guy. They're going to love him. This guy puts it all on the floor. He does. He provides the Knicks with exactly what they've been looking for. A backup point guard who can facilitate. No one's saying that he's not a good playmaker. Of course, he's not some world beater when it comes to, a Tyler Kolek in terms of being able to facilitate, move the ball. Played 22 minutes a game this year. He's only averaging 3 assists per game, but again, he's hard-nosed. He's gritty. He busts his ass. He is the exact type of guy that the Knicks have needed for a very long time. Like, when was the last time you can remember a Knicks guard with a lot of grit? Deuce McBride, he busts his ass. He plays hard. I'm not saying that. I think you could say Dante DiVincenzo. Like, that was a dog. The Knicks need dogs. And they just got one in Jose Alvarado, a guy they've been looking to acquire for the last 2 years for scraps. For scraps. They gave up a hot dog on the corner of 34th and 7th. They gave up a hot dog, and they gave up a Madison Square Garden popcorn. A thing of popcorn. Those are good. Joshua, yeah. What's up, man? So it was Dalen Terry, the guy they acquired last night. They literally got him last night. They were able to get Gershon Yabusele. And this is the, I mean, the fact that they essentially turned Gershon Yabusele, a guy who objectively sucked this year with the Knicks. I don't know what happened in the offseason. He came in to play for the Knicks, and he was terrible. He was awful. He couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. He shot extremely well. I think it was 38% from three. Shot 50% from the floor last year with the Sixers on a team that, he got a lot more playing time. But earlier on in the year, he was a part of that rotation, and he gave the Knicks nothing. And Mike Brown continued to give him chance after chance after chance, considering the fact that they were really high on him. Out of the two, I guess out of the three moves the Knicks made in terms of signings, I don't count Landry Shamet because he was on the team last year. But in terms of Jordan Clarkson, Malcolm Brogdon, and Gershon Yabusele, I and a lot of Knicks fans thought that the latter, Yabusele, was the best move they made. A guy who allowed them to have a lot of flexibility in their rotations. A guy that could potentially allow them to play to play him at the five, next to a smaller Knicks lineup. Again, this is very fluid here. This is amazing. This really is Alvarado, New York City guy. He played in Queens, from Brooklyn. This is the type of guy the Knicks have needed for a very long time. It is. He's gritty as hell. He's a very good defender, despite his size. And here's the thing. I mean, you could play him against Jalen Brunson, but that is a tiny, tiny backcourt. Tiny. I'm very interested to see how Mike Brown deploys him in the rotation. He's going to play alongside Jalen Brunson. He is. He plays a lot bigger than he is. Much like Deuce McBride. They're both shorter stature, but they both have the length. They have the ability to keep any opposing guard in front of them. And here's the thing. Jose Alvarado, you play the Celtics. He'll be able to match up against Derek White. You play the Cavs. You can interchange him and Deuce McBride on Donovan Mitchell. And obviously you'd like to have Mikal Bridges on him. You'd like to have OG Anunoby if needed. Donovan Mitchell, shorter guard. The type of player that you can interchange, and the switchability is going to be amazing. The defensive lineup for the Knicks is going to be unreal. Because Alvarado is a much better facilitator than Deuce McBride. Deuce McBride does not have. He's a great spot-up shooter. He can create for himself from time to time. But Jose Alvarado is the exact type of guy that they've needed for a very long time off the bench. So I'm very excited. He's played on a Pelicans team that has been unserious, completely unserious. They don't have many other options. Jose Alvarado, not a world beater from three, shooting 36% from three this year. And again, as I mentioned, he averages 3 assists per game, not amazing, but he doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't. And at a Pelicans team that's a lot more serious last year, had a bunch more options offensively, he averaged 4.6 assists per game. And he averaged 24.4 minutes per game this year, only 21. This is amazing. This is amazing. This is ideal. When I saw the news, I'm like, please not Landry Shamet. Please not Landry Shamet. But it's Jose Alvarado. For a guy the Knicks never intended on playing. I thought he could have been a cap casualty. And 2 second-round picks for Jose Alvarado. If you're a Knicks fan, you're not hyped up about this, take a long, hard look at the mirror. And look into Jose Alvarado and what he brings. He may not be the tallest guy. He may not be the most athletic guy. But that effort is exactly what you need. The Garden feeds off of those guys. They do. There's a reason why Landry Shamet has become such a fan favorite in the Garden. Yes, he's an MSG riser, which I think is very important, but he's gritty. He's a great point of attack defender. He weaves in and out of screens extremely well, and he busts his ass. Now you bring in another guy in Jose Alvarado who brings that same energy. So again, he's not a world beater offensively. He's never shot more than 65 or 60. Can you imagine? He's never shot more than 36% from three in a season. But he's consistently averaged a steal a game. NJ born 2001. I mean, this is the plan. I was going to come on here and start with Giannis. If you missed it, the Bucks are definitely not trading Giannis, which shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. They were never serious about it. There are better offers that they could get during the offseason. Teams will have a better view of their future and have more of an understanding of like where they stand in, you know, in their respective conferences and who they have and what deals they eventually make. You see how crazy this trade deadline is. The reason why all these moves are being made is because teams knew that the Bucks were never serious about trading Giannis. And again, the news comes out like, of course they weren't trading Giannis. Of course. Do you see who are the suitors? The Warriors, the Heat, the Timberwolves. These are unserious teams that were never going to offer enough to the Bucks for Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's going to be a little awkward the rest of the year, depending on, you know, if Giannis wants to play. If he doesn't want to play, he's self-diagnosed with that calf injury. I think it's pretty funny. But we're talking Jose Alvarado here. I might get into that, the Giannis stuff in a little. I was planning on going live from 1 to 2. This came out of the blue, and here we are now. Zero Quilty says he's not. Yeah, 100%. He is. He is the exact type of player that the two-way guard that the Knicks have been seeking for a long time. They have. Leon has this plan from the start. He just cooked. I don't think Knicks have been trying to get Jose Alvarado for a long time. And all it took was a swap for Gershon Yabusele for Dalen Terry. And then attaching 2 second-round picks. Knicks had 9 second-round picks to play with, I believe. Don't quote me on that. And they also still have this Wizards unprotected pick or protected pick from 1 to 8, which is going to convey to 2 second-round picks. So they're going to essentially have 2 late first-round picks. Very close. You know, it'll be 31, 32, depending on how fall potentially if you know, the Wizards fall in the lottery. Can you imagine if they end up like the 7th pick, the Knicks get screwed, the 8th pick, they get screwed out of that pick, just like what happened with the Mavs. Yeah, Wellesley says based on what they gave up, you can only be happy with this move, and I don't really know much about Alvarado. What I'll tell you, and what you will know pretty quickly, is that he's a dog. He's a dog. He gives you his all every time he steps on the hardwood. He's not inept offensively. He's somewhat of a facilitator. The Knicks have way more options offensively than the Pelicans ever did. Last year, where they weren't as injured, he averaged 4.6 assists. This year, only 3, just over 3. But you look at that Pelicans team. Who do they have? Who do they have? So you got to let's discuss, you know, what Jose Alvarado's role might potentially be with this Knicks team. And again, this is very fluid. The news just came out, and here we go. Okay, so the reason why this move is, and I digress here. I just want to, you know, again, I'm trying to update you in real time with this news. Alvarado has a player option next year, $4.5 million a year. I don't know whether he's going to get more than that. I can only imagine it'll be like a, you know, $5-6 million a year guy at this point, with how much money the upper echelon players in the NBA are making, with how the new CBA works. Can't imagine you get more than $7 million a year. But here's this tweet by, I see this guy, Yossi Goslin. He's very good with the cap analysis. He says Jose Alvarado picking up his player option would give the Knicks significant flexibility below the second apron next season. It would help them maximize their depth under the second apron hard cap they'd be subjected to if they can acquire Giannis Antetokounmpo in the offseason. So not only do they get a guy who is going to be impactful for this year, but if he picks up his player option, he gives the Knicks an expiring contract that will help them get up to the number that they need to be when it comes to a Giannis Antetokounmpo trade. And also, he's a good player. If he's making $4.5 million a year, I know this isn't exactly what the Bucks would be looking for. And I know we're jumping way ahead here. We're jumping 100%. You know, the Knicks have won 8 games in a row. They look better than they've looked over the last 10 years, besides that stretch in January of 2024 where they went 12-2. Never forget that. But this is a move that the Knicks have been trying to make for a very long time. You know, if you trust this front office, if you believe in what Leon Rose has done, and hear me out. I mean, like the big trades, the cat trade, I think is still a terrible trade. I think that will go down as one of the worst in Knicks history. The McHale trade might be even worse. If they never make that trade, they could have Giannis. They could have Giannis at this point. But this is the guy the Knicks have been looking for a very long time. This type of player. And I'm very, very excited to see what he can bring. And like just yesterday, you hear from Jake Fisher. Just reminded of this. Jake Fisher, just over 24 hours ago, said that the Knicks are nowhere close in pursuit of hometown guard. And there was another article put out yesterday that said Gershon Yabusele was holding up the deal, the Jose Alvarado deal. And they unload his deal. He's got a player option. He'll be back for next year to the Chicago Bulls for Dalen Terry, who they just flipped for Jose Alvarado. To go from Gershon Yabusele to Jose Alvarado, it's unbelievable. It is. It is extremely impressive that the Knicks were able to get that done. Yeah, I mean, their backcourt depth has been shoddy at best. You know, they had no wing depth whatsoever. And I guess I think you could consider Landry Shamet, he's an undersized wing. What he's been able to provide them, he has been playing the 2. But with his shooting ability and his ability to match up against bigger, players on offense is I think it makes him a wing, or at least it makes him as viable of a wing as a backcourt player, as a guard. But yeah, man, and this is terrific. This is great news. I don't know how much more I could say about it. You know, I'm just, again, it's very fluid. The news just came out around 20 minutes ago. I saw it, immediately fired up this computer and immediately went live. This is terrific. This is. And it was extremely unexpected. And now we get more Giannis. This is the craziest trade deadline I can remember. I mean, the amount of moves, all the things that have happened. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And like there are a few different moves that I wanted to get into. We could stick with Alvarado for as long as possible here. And please drop some comments down below if you're in, especially in YouTube. I don't know how many. I never know how many YouTube people I have, YouTube viewers that I have. It's good. It's really good news. It's really good news, guys. Considering the fact that 24 hours ago you didn't think the Knicks had any chance to get Alvarado. Gershon Yabusele was a non-factor. He was atrocious. He's one of the worst Knicks in recent memory, especially considering how hyped up he was. He averaged like 3 points per game, couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat from 3, provided them nothing defensively. And the Knicks essentially just traded him and 2 second-round picks that teams dole out like candy. Second-round picks, I think teams value them, obviously more in trades. Teams accumulating them, especially contenders, don't use those picks. They don't have space on their rosters. So they become a massive trade chip. In this day and age, especially with the apron system. of the new CBA. I say new CBA. It's been 2 or 3 years at this point. But these second round picks that can turn into guys who are playing well below the veterans minimum, playing, for $1 to $2 million a year. Like, you could take a bunch of swings on these guys. For terrible teams, why not? Take all these guys. See what you have in training camp. See what you have in the summer league. If you want to send them down to the G League, go ahead. And then if you want to bring them back up, terrific. And that's the value in these second round picks. Knicks just gave up 2. Again, I think they had 9. Now they have 7. And this is like the next 5 years or whatever. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, that 7 now could turn into 9. Will turn into 9 when the Wizards end up in the top 8 of this year's draft. The Knicks will end up with 2 extremely solid second round picks in 2026 and 2027, which will be the Wizards picks. And those picks they'll have value. They're not going to be some random second round throw-ins that might be at the back end of the draft. They won't be in the bottom 10. They'll be in the top 35. It's almost just as good as a first-round pick, an end-of-the-line first-round pick. So they have all this flexibility. If Jose Alvarado picks up his option, according to what I've seen, it will give them a lot more flexibility under the second apron. Which, if you understand anything about the cap, if you're hard capped at the second apron and you're past the threshold for the first apron, you can't send out any less money than you'd be taking in. So you have to be receiving exactly what you'd be giving out. And the Yabusele and Dalen Terry trade was essentially the same amount of money. And now you get Alvarado, same situation. They're sending out more money than they could take in, which is legal with where they are. But it's very rare in the NBA that you could find a team that's willing to do that. Because these types of players, Jose Alvarado, is extremely valuable to a contender. Maybe not the Pelicans with where they're at. That dumpster fire of a team that traded its unprotected first-round pick next year for Derek Queen, who's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but unprotected. I'll never get over that. Joe Dumars just smoking crack that night. I digress. To a team like the Pelicans, I'm sure all of the offers they got for Jose Alvarado, everything that teams submitted for him, this might have been the best move for them. And again, they get 2 second-round picks. And if you know which 2 second-round picks it is, please let me know. I'm staying on my phone here, seeing what the deal is. So please let me know. I still don't see anything. Yeah. Terrific. This is again, my apologies. I'm trying to find as much information as I can possibly find. I fired this up immediately after. Oh no. So now you know why the Knicks made this trade. Unbelievable. I got to switch this headline. Hold on. Deuce McBride is going to be out until the playoffs. Deuce McBride is going to be out for the playoffs. Just saw this news. Fred Katz broke the news. Unbelievable. Just when you think you have it great. We can't always just have nice things, guys. According to Fred Katz, this just broke a minute and a half ago. He said Knicks guard Deuce McBride will undergo surgery Friday on a core muscle injury, more commonly referred to as a sports hernia, and could be sidelined until the playoffs. Well, I mean, look on the bright side. At least this wasn't a season-ending injury. This would have been a lot worse if the Knicks didn't just trade for Jose Alvarado. Would have been. And now with Deuce McBride out, I was gonna get into the lineup ramifications, how much Jose Alvarado potentially play for this Knicks team. But that's all changed. We could still get into that. But I'm glad I didn't just do 10 minutes on that. And now we hear the Deuce McBride injury news. If you're just joining now, Jose Alvarado is a Knick, but Deuce McBride has been ruled out due to, not ruled out. He's getting surgery tomorrow for a sports hernia injury that will keep him out until the playoffs. So you can't just have nice things. This was one step forward, one step back. Yeah, this is a massive trade. This is. The Knicks need a Deuce McBride level defender off the bench to match up against quick guards. We've seen repeatedly, Mikal Bridges can't keep in front of quick guards. The guys that can penetrate the defense easily. He can't. He can't do it. And he's too small to match up against bigger forwards. How many times do we watch during the Celtics series Jaylen Brown back up into Mikal Bridges with ease? Yeah, this is again, my apologies for the 15th time. This is all very fluid. I expected this to get crazy right up until the deadline, not 2 or 3 hours before, not even 48 hours before. The craziness started out of the blue with the James Harden, Darius Garland trade. James Harden, who's, by the way, who's not a cancer whatsoever on any of the teams he plays for. How long do you think he's going to last in Cleveland? Over under a year and a half, James Harden in Cleveland. He'll be able one day to complete the NBA rainbow. That'll be a meme out there. Corey, I think you wrote this before the Deuce McBride injury. Yeah, it's good news. It is. It is amazing. Go New York, go New York, go. But Deuce McBride is now out for what seems like multiple months, at least 2 months. They said he could be out into the playoffs. We've seen this happen before with the Knicks, where they've gotten injury timelines wrong. And if you remember, in 23-24, the Knicks I want to say early December, ruled out Mitchell Robinson. The news comes out that they are looking for, I forgot what it's called, like the injured player exception. They wanted to get money back on what was owed to Mitchell Robinson, the disabled player exception, whatever the hell that is. They essentially were saying he was going to be out for the season. At least they thought that, and they wanted to get their money back. Well, it turns out Mitchell Robinson returned at the end of the regular season and played in that series against the Sixers. And of course, the end of the series gets hurt and misses the first 2 or 3 months of last season. But the Knicks have traded for Jose Alvarado. It's bittersweet, though, because Deuce McBride is going to be out until the playoffs. I'm encouraged the fact that it's not like guaranteed he'll be out until the playoffs. Guaranteed he'll be out 3 or 4 months. Guaranteed he'll be reevaluated at some point. He needs to get the surgery before we know more. So nothing's absolute as of this point. It's encouraging. It's encouraging that this news isn't coupled with the news or the lack of news that the Knicks have done nothing at the deadline. If the Knicks didn't trade for Jose Alvarado, you'd see Tyler Kolek playing 20, 25 minutes a game. Tyler Kolek is very good in spurts. He's a good player at a max of 15 minutes a game, depending on the game script. If you have Karl Anthony Towns playing terribly and you have Mitchell Robinson playing the majority of minutes that Karl Anthony Towns should be playing, then it's easier to throw Tyler Kolek into the lineup. Because as they say, you can hide one defender. You can't hide two inept defenders. But the rest of those Knicks have been making it look easy. The defense looked terrible with Jordan Clarkson on the floor last night. He started, definitely didn't finish the game. That was Landry Shamet, who has been unstoppable from deep. If you think you can't stop, you think you can't hide two defenders, how about three? There is no world in which Mike Brown can play Tyler Kolek, Jalen Brunson, and Cat on the floor at the same time. Good thing he won't have to worry about that now. Jose Alvarado is a Knick. He is going to fill the role that Deuce McBride is going to leave him with this abdominal injury or whatever the hell it is, the sports hernia. The only issue is that Jose Alvarado is not able to fill the shoes of Deuce McBride from deep. And although Deuce is plateaued from three, first 2 or 3 months of the season, he was lights out from three. He was shooting almost 50%. He had the highest three-point percentage in the NBA multiple months into the season. So Deuce McBride is now out multiple months with an injury that could sideline him until the playoffs. Thank goodness the Knicks are getting three-point output, extremely consistent three-point output from Landry Shamet. Someone who has been lights out from deep, lights out. And what him and Mitchell Robinson are providing you on a nightly basis, it makes this team so much scarier. Last year, they had zero depth. None. Tom Thibodeau refused to play Landry Shamet. Refused to. Barely, if at all, played him until he had to. When they went down 2-0 to the Pacers in the conference finals. He had no choice. His hand was forced. He knew his job was on the line, had to play these guys, and of course, Landry Shamet showed up big time. Big time. And we found out in Game 5 of that series that this guy is an MSG riser. I've never seen, I haven't seen Jose Alvarado play a game in the orange and blue yet. I think it's safe to say that this guy is going to rise to the occasion at MSG. He's a New Yorker, grew up in Brooklyn, played high school ball in Queens. This is the guy that the Knicks needed. This type of guy, the grittiness that they've lacked since they lost Dante DiVincenzo. Julius Randle provided that as well. And you traded for two softies and Karl Anthony Towns, who, to his credit, got headbutted to the top of his right eye or bottom of his right eye, needed stitches, came back into the game, had one of the toughest visuals that you'll ever see with the blood on his jersey, which he had to swap out. He needed to swap out his jersey. He made the 2 free throws, went out, came back in the game, and played very well till he fell down. But you trade for two softies in McHale and Karl Anthony Towns, you need to supplement those guys with guys like Jose Alvarado. A guy that is going to bust his ass, especially on the defensive end for the 20, 25 minutes a game he'll play going forward. Maybe a little bit less, maybe 15, 20. He's only playing 21 minutes. He was only playing 21 minutes a game this year for the Pelicans, 25, almost 25 a game last year for the Pelicans. When they made this trade, when the Knicks made this trade earlier, I've been live for 35 minutes almost. They made this trade about 38 minutes ago. I went live almost immediately after. My concern was that how much is he realistically going to play? How much? Behind Deuce, behind Shamet. Now you have your answer. So Jose Alvarado is going to immediately slot into this lineup starting tomorrow night against the Pistons in a huge game. It's a huge stretch. The next three of the next four games for the All-Star break. Play the Pistons, the Celtics, the Pacers, and the Sixers. The Pacers they should handle with ease. Have they played the Pacers yet? I might be dead wrong on this. But have they played the Pacers yet? Maybe in some NBA Cup action. But I don't think I'm wrong about this. I don't think I'm wrong. They play 3 times this year. They play them. They play them 3 more times, starting with Tuesday. It's a very tough stretch. They play 7 games in 9 days. They've already played 2 of those. That was 1 back-to-back. They get some rest today. Then they play the Pistons. Then they get a day off. They play the Celtics, and then they play the Pacers, and they play the Celtics on a back-to-back. I guess the Celtics Sixers on a back-to-back, and then they have the All-Star break. But Leon Rose has come through. He's come through. They've needed this grittiness so bad. So bad. Gershon Yabusele and 2 second-round picks for Jose Alvarado. A guy that sucked. Could barely move down the floor because he was so fat. 1 second-round pick that won't play. Another second-round pick that won't play. For a rotation player in Jose Alvarado. Leon Rose deserves his flowers for this. And I'm not going to sit here now 37 minutes in and understate the importance of this move. Now that Deuce McBride is going to be out multiple months. I guess at minimum, he said he could be out into the playoffs. He's getting surgery tomorrow. There's no guarantee that when they go in, open him up for surgery, that the injury isn't worse than they thought it'd be. Knock on wood. I'm not putting that out there in the universe. But I mean, I feel a lot worse as a Knicks fan if Deuce McBride was out and the Knicks didn't have Jose Alvarado. That makes it much easier. Much easier to stomach Deuce McBride being out for a couple of months here. So I just did 38 minutes on this. If you missed any of it, scroll back. Again, I went live immediately after this. So the first part of it, for the 15th time, I'm going to apologize again because it was fluid. I was updating my phone, didn't even know the return when it originally went down. But I'm excited. If you're a Knicks fan, you should be excited as well. Of course, the whole wrench being thrown in this is the Deuce injury, but again, this makes it a lot easier to stomach. It does. So, big news. I'm excited. That's what I'll say. I'm intrigued because I think that Jose Alvarado is going to be an MSG riser. He's going to become a fan favorite. I love the idea of a backcourt, a bench backcourt of Alvarado and Landry Shamet. How about this line? I'm salivating at the thought of this line. Alvarado, Shamet, OG. I guess you could play OG at the 4. With Mitchell Robinson in there. You could throw in anyone at the 3 or 4. Play OG at the 4. You can play anyone. But you have the bench lineup that can come in and completely change the energy of a game. I think if you're, and I just told you I'd move on from this, but I was working the last 40 minutes to build up to this point. The Knicks over the last 5 years 2 of those years, they had a lot of depth. They had Emmanuel quickly off the bench. And what did that depth provide the Knicks? They had Josh Hart off the bench as well. What did that depth provide the Knicks? A kick in the ass and the ability to completely change the energy and the momentum of a game. Well, they've lacked that. They've lacked guys who can come in, perform at the highest level at Madison Square Garden. Landry Shamet rise to the occasion at the Garden. And I think that Jose Alvarado is going to be that guy as well. He's a New York kid. Grew up here. Played high school basketball here. That is the exact type of guy that you target. You know, even if the stats don't jump off the page at you, you need his grittiness. You need his physicality. You needed a hard-nosed, true backup point guard. Deuce McBride is a combo guard. He's not a true backup point guard. You don't trust him with the ball in his hands. The Knicks feel more comfortable giving the ball to Josh Hart or Mikal Bridges to bring the ball up the court when they don't want to waste Jalen Brunson's energy. Look at what Landry Shamet has done for this team. Coming off the bench, just injecting them with energy every time he does. Now you got 2 guys to do that off the bench. And again, it remains to be seen whether Jose Alvarado is going to fit with this team, but it's exactly who you needed. You needed a dog. And you just got a dog. So there you go. All right. I just did 42 minutes on that. Again, if you missed this, then scroll back. But I want to get into Giannis quickly. Maybe I'll talk about the other deals as well. If you're focused in on the Knicks again, when I end this, you could be able to scroll back. I don't think you can. Maybe on YouTube you can, but not on Twitter. Check me out on YouTube. Check me out on Twitter. Subscribe to me on YouTube. That would be much appreciated for more live streams like this, and also Twitter. I do them on both. Drop a follow, subscribe, whatever you want to do. It's much appreciated. But it came out about an hour ago that the Bucks are not going to trade Giannis before the deadline. This shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. None of the offers, the reported offers, the rumored offers that the Bucks got for Giannis were ever enough. And the fact that they never even considered any of these offers means that they were never serious about trading him. They were asking for the moon and the stars. Teams at this point, the middle of the season, especially the teams that were desperate to try to get him, the Heat, the Warriors, the Wolves for a second, I never thought that makes sense. Like, they're a good team. No need to gut all of your depth. I'm sure that they would have asked for Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo. Like, it was not worth it for any of these teams interested in Giannis to give a Godfather offer to the Bucks, to make them an offer they couldn't refuse. Never made any sense. So the Bucks hold on to Giannis, and now it's an interesting dilemma. It is. Like, there's this, I don't want to say antiquated sentiment, but there is a prevailing thought that will last for the rest of the year amongst Bucks fans. And the players on the Bucks not named Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I know that he never explicitly asked out. I know he never explicitly went to John Horst and the Bucks owners and demanded a trade. The writing was on the wall. It seemed like Giannis was calling out his fellow teammates for their lack of effort on a nightly basis. The guy clearly has high expectations for himself and for his teammates. But there came a time and there came a place where there was no other option. And I'm sure that deep down there's a mutual respect. Of course that there's respect towards Giannis from the Bucks. He's completely revitalized the city. That downtown area where Fiserv Forum is was created and built essentially because of Giannis Antetokounmpo. So there's respect from the Bucks to Giannis. But I wonder if there is a respect back. I wonder if it's a two-way street. Because on one hand, the Bucks have embraced Giannis as this. I mean, he's a legend. He's going to go down as a top 20 player in NBA history, especially if he wins another ring. But the city of Milwaukee and the Bucks organization has embraced Giannis like no other athlete in the city's history. But on the other hand, Giannis might look at the situation and say, you guys completely screwed the identity of this team, which was a hard-nosed defensive mentality by trading Drew Holiday for Damian in the trade for Damian Lillard to bring in a guy that plays no defense, albeit one of the greatest outside scoring threats the NBA has ever seen, one of the clutchest players in NBA history, in Damian Lillard. You send out a guy who's more than capable offensively, but a top 5 perimeter defender in the NBA for a guy that doesn't defend. That was the nail in the coffin. After that, the Bucks were dead to rights. And I understand Giannis has been hurt every playoffs. Like, that's also why I'm sure Giannis doesn't fully blame this on the front office. They never really had a chance. He was hurt the last 2 playoffs. But the Bucks completely fumbled the future of Giannis Antetokounmpo. They won a ring. All right, like, that's important. This would be a much worse situation if they didn't get that ring. And I'm sure Giannis would have formally asked out by this point. They have their ring. Giannis, I'm sure deep down feels partial to the Bucks. But you got to consider what will happen the rest of this year. After Giannis did something that I've never seen throughout my years watching the NBA, by self-diagnosing himself with a calf strain. He said, I'll be out 4 to 6 weeks. What? After the game, he didn't get evaluated. Yeah, I'll be out 4 to 6 weeks. And then, of course, a couple of days later, it's reported that the Bucks and Giannis are looking for a trade partner. And Giannis is looking to move on from his time in Milwaukee. So now how do you think that that's going to go down? I'm sure his fellow players would understand. Hey, we haven't been good enough. Giannis had to talk to us after every single game this season. And Bucks fans, owe him all the respect in the world for what he's done for the city, what he's done for their favorite team. But don't you think that that's going to be the story the rest of the way? Especially with it being extremely unlikely that the Bucks make the playoffs. Don't you think that? They're not making the playoffs. Giannis might look at the situation and say, why should I lace them up one more time this year? Why would I risk potentially getting hurt for a team that has a snowball's chance in hell at both making the playoffs and competing for a championship? When I'm a top 3 player in the NBA, I'm going to bust my ass for a team that inadequately built around me. I'm gonna lace them up for a team that is objectively garbage. I don't think so. One of the most interesting storylines to watch the rest of the year is what happens here. Does this whole situation unravel? Is this one of a million James Harden situations? I'm looking at the fat suit. Just every time that he asked out. I don't think Giannis is as immature. I mean, to be fair, I mean, like, James Harden, say what you want about him constantly asking out. There's no one better at getting what he wants out of his franchise. He's gotten every single trade granted, and the team that he's wanted to go to, he's been sent. I think that's hilarious. Thinking about that the other day, I'm like, there's no one better than James Harden at asking out and getting where he wants. Maybe Giannis could take some notes from that. I don't think Giannis would ever sink to that level of in China screaming about Daryl Morey lying. Giannis is a stand-up guy. He's one of the most respected athletes in all of sports. Just a good dude. Brings good vibes. Has stayed loyal to a franchise that has failed to do anything to help them compete since 2021, since they won their ring. And there's never any guarantee. There's no death taxes blank when it comes to competing after you win something. The Bucks were never like fully set up for success after that happened. They weren't. Of course, it didn't help that Chris Middleton started having these chronic injury issues, with him being their third best player and most consistent scoring option, even more consistent than Giannis at times, especially in big moments. This is a huge story to watch. It is. And, you heard multiple times. I saw a report from Brian Windhorst that I just can't believe for 1 second. I think it's complete garbage. Essentially, he said the Knicks had multiple chances to trade for Giannis, and they could have pulled the trigger at any point this offseason and this trade deadline, but they didn't. What? Just a week ago, the Knicks were rumored to be preparing as good of an offer as they possibly could that they could possibly give the Bucks for Giannis. Now all of a sudden they could have done it, but they didn't. The Knicks could have made the move. They would have made it before their 8-game win streak. So I don't buy that report for a second. I'm happy the Knicks at least somewhat inquired about it. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else more I could say about this situation. Like the Knicks got what they wanted today. Jose Alvarado. Of course, they get this terrible Deuce McBride information that he'll potentially be out until the playoffs. Of course, the silver lining in that is you don't really worry that much now that you have Jose Alvarado. But I was potentially, I tweeted about it that I was going live and I was going to talk extensively about the Gershon Yabusele trade. Well, it turns out the Gershon Yabusele trade turned into the Jose Alvarado trade. If you missed it, I doubt any of you guys live under a rock if you're listening to this right now. But an hour ago, the Knicks traded for Jose Alvarado. They gave up Dalen Terry, the guy they acquired last night, or early this morning in the trade for Gershon Yabusele. They gave up Dalen Terry and 2 second-round picks to get a guy they've been trying to acquire for a long time now. And I think this is a situation where the Pelicans were like, you know what? Screw it. You don't have many suitors for Jose Alvarado. There's no big move that we can make. We screwed up and traded our unprotected first-round pick next year. It could turn out to be a top 5 pick. So they decided to give in. That's my hypothesis in all of this. The last thing I wanted to touch on is something I made a TikTok on earlier. If you're on TikTok, follow me at Bryce Gelman. I do good content there. Today, I woke up and I'm like, I got to get my thoughts out about this trade from last night. The Warriors traded for Kristaps Porzingis. They finally end the Jonathan Kuminga saga, and they trade him to the Hawks along with Buddy Hield for Kristaps Porzingis. Kristaps Porzingis. The guy with the chronic nervous system disorder, definitely not disorder. The guy with the chronic nervous system disability, I guess you could say, condition, I guess you could say. The guy will never play more than 50 games in a season the rest of his career. And that's the guy that you trade Jonathan Kuminga for? They finally get rid of Kuminga. They trade him for Kristaps Porzingis, who will never be the same player the rest of his career. What the hell are the Warriors doing? Seriously. You know, they owe $160 million guaranteed to Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Moses Moody next year. They don't have cap room. Like, you could look at it as, okay, they got rid of Jonathan Kuminga for Porzingis' expiring contract. They still don't have any cap room after that. Like, yeah, they have a lot more maneuverability. All right? They do. Don't you think they could have gotten a better player? Don't you think that they could have been in a position where they didn't want to get rid of Jonathan Kuminga as bad as they did? Don't you think? One of the most interesting breakups and sagas in recent memory. Jonathan Kuminga being the 7th overall pick, a guy who showed a lot of flashes, with a bunch of 30-point games where he looked like a future star, just never fit in with that offense. He never got the ball as much as he needed to excel in that offensive system. And so he fell out of favor with Steve Kerr. And it went on and on and on and on. He was a restricted free agent this last year. And the thought was that, all right, well, someone will be interested in him. Maybe we could complete a sign and trade. Well, it turns out no one wanted to give him as much money as the Warriors were able to give him. And like, they didn't want to lose him for nothing. Some team would have swooped in there and given him pennies in the dollar, $15 million a year. He ended up getting like, 28, whatever it was, 29, maybe in the 30s. Well, it turns out the Warriors essentially got nothing for him. They turned 2nd overall pick in 2020, the 7th pick in 2021. I mean, they had Moses Moody. They still have the 14th pick that year. He's no world beater. He's not a top 100 player in the NBA, that's for sure. They turned those 2 picks into nothing. Kristaps Porzingis was their prized acquisition from all of those picks that they had. The Warriors were set up perfectly to continue their dynasty. They were. I think it's one of the biggest botches in recent NBA history. There have been a lot of busts. A lot of. The one that comes to mind is the Pacers or the Pistons taking Killian Hayes over the multitude of guys that went after him that would have been a lot better. Tyrese Halliburton being one of them. And we can go on and on and on with busts. Rarely do you get essentially 3 in a 2-year span. Rarely do you get 3 in a 2-year span from a team that ended up winning the championship the next year. Those 3 guys have rings. When you look in their Wikipedia, they have one-time NBA champion at the footnote of their page. NBA champions. And the Warriors got nothing for those guys. Nothing. What a disaster. What a fall from grace. And I said this earlier in my TikTok where I criticized the Warriors for what they did. Guys, is it time for them to consider trading Steph Curry? Like, at some point, you just have to admit that all good things come to an end. We want to rebuild this franchise. We've screwed up in drafts before. We need to take this seriously. We need more shots at this. We need to be able to throw some more darts at the board and see if we can hit on one of these guys. Steph Curry's in his late 30s. I believe he's turning 38 soon. And you're going to try to continue to build around this guy? How's that turned out for you? Traded for Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler just tore his ACL. Maybe they would have advanced the conference finals last year. They probably would have if Steph Curry wasn't hurt. But that's what you get when you have a guy in his late 30s who's chronic ankle issues. You never know when that injury bug is going to bite. But what you do know is when it does, you have to worry about the recovery time because you've got a player in his late 30s. The human body, as time goes on, heals slower and slower when it comes to soft tissue and cartilage injuries or sprains or breaks. That's how we as humans work. Now, this wasn't meant to be an anatomy class, but Steph Curry, I think that the ship has sailed, especially with these injuries with Jimmy Butler. And you just acquired a player who people thought had AIDS. Guy who has POTS, P-O-T-S. Which essentially means that, like, there will be times when he goes in the court and his heart rate will get so high that he has to come out of the game. Can't play. There's nothing you can do about it. Seems like it's a lifelong condition that he's going to have to deal with. And that's the guy you just traded Jonathan Kuminga for, finally. Let me check my phone again quickly. I don't know if there was any more deals. Doesn't look like it. This league. Tweeted by Jake Fisher. Huh. Yeah, I mean, so if you missed it earlier, as you can tell from the title, I did Jose Alvarado, immediately reacted to it. I'm excited, man. I am. The Knicks have needed a guy like this, scrappy, hard-nosed, gritty guy, especially a guard, for a very long time. So, all right, that'll do it for me. If you missed any of that, scroll back to the start. If you're watching this on YouTube, drop a subscription. If you're watching this on Twitter, I hope you're already following. If not, give me a follow there. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today. And go Knicks, man. I'm really excited about this. And we'll see how this works out going forward. Let's go, baby. Peace.